if you struggle with setting boundaries, if you struggle saying no, this is a video that you're definitely going to want to watch. Okay, energy vampires. There's a lots of different types. We have the energy vampire that resides in sort of a victim mentality and wants to feed off of you energetically to lift them up, but they're not willing to do what it takes in their life to lift themselves up. This does not include people who have run into difficult times, but are going to start working on it themselves and helping themselves in addition to receiving help from you. This is someone that has no intention of helping themselves, no intention of doing anything, any sort of inner work or any sort of therapy or anything like that in order to help them get back up on their own feet. Instead, what they're going to do is pull from you. They're going to pull from you what they need. It's like food for them. And what they need is to hear someone tell them the wonderful things about them, or hear someone tell them it's going to be okay, or have somebody offer up solutions to the situation they're in. Now, you know that this type of a person is an energy vampire instead of someone who is just has a momentary blip in life that's difficult and they're getting through it. You know this person is in the category of an energy vampire when it just never ends. It never gets better. They never apply any suggestions that you offer. They say things like, I just can't go on unless I hear your voice, or I just can't handle this without you. Think in terms of, are you being looked at as a lifesaver, like a literal raft that they're holding onto because they're not willing to swim? And as long as they know that they have you there, they're going to come back to you over and over to feel better. You are their medication. You are their soothing. You are what helps them to get through. Now, is this bad? In general, no, over time, it can be very detrimental, especially if this is a one-way street. And if you've run into someone like this, I guarantee you, it is a one-way street, because they're certainly not putting in, an equal amount of time. It doesn't even have to be equal. They're not putting in the time to lift you up as well, to listen to what's going on in your life, to offer maybe suggestions, or to just be an ear to listen to. But they are expecting that from you consistently. I always feel better after I talk to you. I always feel like, I'm lost until, I hear your voice. So things like that are what you want to listen for. And toward the end of the video, I'm going to give you some steps you can take to see this more clearly and to set boundaries. But let's first just kind of go through a few of the situations that might be happening. And I also want to say a little side note here. If these are happening to you, if you're running into people that are energy vampires and they're kind of draining your energy, it's because you're compassionate. It's because you're so loving. And that's the kicker in this situation, because you have these wonderful personality traits, because you have this wonderful part of your being. It's not even a personality trait, it's who you are, because you're a giver and a supporter and a lover and all that kind of stuff. Because of those wonderful things about you, these people tend to roll into your life, and energetically they take. Okay. Now, there's also the energy vampires that are a bit more manipulative. The first category I was talking about, most of the time they're not even aware they're doing it. It's not a conscious thing. They know that things are hard. They're too scared to move or do anything about it, and you make them feel better. So it's not really like they're going to call you up and be like, hey, I can't wait to drain you. So, I could do something, but I'm not going to because this person's going to. That's not the attitude of that type of energy vampire. That is somebody that perhaps wasn't given the skills to solve problems, or or maybe didn't have people show up for them earlier in life, and now they've found somebody that would show up for them, and so they get stuck into that pattern with you. Now, the next kind of energy vampire, this one's a little bit more manipulative. This one knows a little bit more of what they're doing. And they say things in such a way that over time, it will put you into a position of walking on eggshells, being uncomfortable around them, thinking about what you should say and when the best time is to say it. They eventually will have you using different words. When you talk to them, they will slowly but surely set up parameters that you eventually step into. Now, the first type of energy vampire, that's typically a friend. Do you know what I mean? That's typically somebody, I mean, you know, a friend or something like that. But this one is usually a closer relationship, like an intimate relationship, like partners or really, really, really close best friends. Over time, it's subtle, but they will lift you up and bring you down, and lift you up and bring you down, and lift you up and bring you down. That's the pattern you want to look for. That's the pattern you want to look for. You will feel with the first type, the person that just, you know, feeds off of you, making them feel better, you're just straight up going to feel drained. You're just going to feel tired, and you're going to feel irritated over time that person isn't taking your suggestions and isn't helping. But this type of energy vampire, over time, your self-esteem will reduce, your anxiety will increase. You will find that you behave with this person differently than you behave with other people, say your friends or, you know, colleagues or things like this. You find that there is this constant, really low grade, sometimes it goes up a little bit, but really low grade fear of upsetting them because you're afraid of what would happen. This comes from the training of lifting you up, cutting you down, lifting you up, cutting you down, lifting you up and cutting you down. So when things are good, you've now learned subliminally, you know, or subconsciously, better way to say it, subconsciously, to not do the things that trigger a possible down, right? Because you want stuff to stay up. This type of energy vampire is thriving off that game. They have now, in a more manipulative way, trained you to treat them the way that they want to be treated. And if you don't treat them that way, then there's, you know, the consequences, not speaking, big fights, calling you, you know, different names, accusing you of being things that you're not. We've heard a lot of terms, other like gaslighting, things like that. This type of energy vampire is feeling better because there is a subtle control. These are people that typically don't like to be alone, that typically need validation, need somebody telling them that they're a good person. And that's the energy that they need. That's the energy that they need. And if you are doing the dance that, you know, subconsciously evolves through this process of straight up manipulation, if you're doing that dance, then you are actively reacting, functioning, speaking in a way to not upset them. That for them is the energy that they want. They want to see someone, you know, behaving in the way that they want them to behave, because that is a definition of love for them. Now, this type of person, some of the things that you can look for are those highs and lows, highs and lows, highs and lows. But the biggest thing I would say to look for is, do you feel as if you are acting differently with this person, handling situations with this person differently than with other people, with like friends and colleagues? Do you find that your anxiety levels are up when you're with this person? Do you feel that you're not good enough, or that you did something, you know, is it always that? A very popular technique for this type of energy vampire is to turn around the guilt. And so they do something wrong, and then they find a very creative way to blame you. And that also sort of adds to the weight of it. That releases the weight off of them. This is their technique as an energy vampire, to release the weight of They don't have to worry about if they're bad or if they're mean or if they're whatever. I didn't do anything. I don't do anything wrong. Never do anything wrong. You know what I mean? Someone who is not one of these energy vampires would be comfortable saying, you know what, I made a mistake. I was wrong and I'm sorry. Or, you know, wouldn't want you to feel nervous or upset around bringing up a certain subject or topic. Would love for you to just be you, all the good and all the bad. That's the healthy side. That's the non-energy vampire. The manipulative energy vampire is playing the game, and that's their food. That's their food. A lot of other little signs that you can look into. There's so many great YouTube resources on, you know, different psychological disorders and things like this, or patterns and why people do this. But in terms of energy, your spiritual energy, by the time that the pattern has set in, it's almost as if your energy has been drained so much that in this manipulative situation that you become numb. I have found that some of the strongest people I know have fallen into this pattern with people. It has nothing to do with how strong you are or how weak you are. It has nothing to do with that. Some of the strongest people I know have walked through this pattern, have woken up months later or a year later and said, how did I get here? Why is every day miserable? Why am I carrying all my own burdens and they're not, I can't even talk to them about anything anymore. Like, because I don't want to upset them, don't upset them, don't upset them, don't upset them. It's a very slow process. I heard an incredible analogy. You may have heard this one as well, but it works perfectly for this type of manipulative energy vampire. If you put a frog in a pot of cold water and then slowly over time turn the temperature up, eventually that frog will boil because it adjusts to the difficulty and the temperature, and until all of a sudden the water is now boiling. That's what it's like to be in contact with and in a relationship with an energy vampire that is also manipulative. They're slowly but surely turning up that heat until it's not comfortable anymore. It's not comfortable anymore. Then lastly, probably not as aggressive as a category, but lastly, there's the energy vampire that literally everywhere they go. So this one would fall in the category of stranger. Everywhere they go, they're in a constant state of pulling from other people's energy. Okay. People like this would be constantly asking for assistance or directions or I don't know what to do. Do you know what to do? Do you know what to do? Constantly looking for another person, strangers, looking for other people to help guide them to whatever their next step is. You know, somebody is in a panic because they don't know like which door to go out of or something like this. So, and they're looking for other people to consistently guide them. So the imagery would be like, the analogy would be, you know, this person is walking through, let's say like a large store or something. They would constantly be pulling the next person in to get them to their next step. And this one is not manipulative. This is just somebody that you might pass in public that you just all of a sudden feel drained. This is a reason why you use GCP everywhere you go, because if your energy isn't supposed to be given to them, it won't be. Sometimes our energy is supposed to be given to people. Like I said, with the first person or with the first type of energy vampire, if it's a person who is hitting a hard time, but they're going to recoup, they're going to, you know, regroup, and they're going to, you know, come back together, and then they're going to take steps to get up above water again, and you're going to support them through that. That's a beautiful thing. That's your energy is worth giving them. And they're not an energy vampire. They're just a friend that you're helping with a little extra energy until they can get back up on their feet. The manipulative energy vampire, well, yeah, that one's just that one. There's really no, you know, that's just not, it's just not okay. It's just not okay. There's no situation where that type of behavior is acceptable and worth your energy. The general one where it's just somebody in public and they need a little bit of extra energy, sometimes you are in a position to be like, wow, I'm really I have some to give. And GCP is going to help you determine, even consciously or unconsciously, whether you can give some of this energy to someone. For example, 2 different situations: no GCP, no Ground Clear Protect. If you're not familiar with GCP, check out the link in here, and it'll take you to a free video that'll explain the whole thing to you. But it is an amazing tool, completely free, super easy, and super powerful. So without GCP, let's say a store setting, and you pass by an energy vampire that's just sort of collecting in general from everywhere around them in order to process through to their next step. If you're not supposed to give them your energy, you will leave that store feeling drained. If you are supposed to give them that energy, perhaps you might even overhear them go, wow, standing next to you, I just feel better. I don't know, it's kind of nice, And again, this is a stranger. This is just in passing. We are all connected. We're all connected. So, so in that situation, just know sometimes it is helpful to give a stranger a little bit of extra energy or time. Sometimes it's not. It depends on where you're at. If you do GCP, which is Ground Clear Protect, it's a way to sort of filter out the energies that aren't supposed to be, coming in or leaving. That GCP is going to help you with that category of an energy vampire in order to determine whether or not you have a little bit of extra energy to give your fellow human being or not. Now, with the stranger, easy solution, right? GCP. Just maybe when you go out and you do stuff, make sure you GCP. Okay. When it comes to the first type, the friend, who's constantly taking, this is probably the easiest of the last 2 here, because we've got the 3. The stranger, super easy. Do GCP before you go into the store. The friend who has hit a hard time but doesn't really want to do anything to help themselves. They just want to keep feeding off of your energy to feel better. This one's the easier of the 3 as well. Boundary setting for that one is just saying, here are the times that I have to give you. Here's the amount of time, the calendar type. I don't care if it's like, we can talk every Monday, or I've got like 15 minutes twice a week where I can talk, and how you say that with as much love as you can is, very straightforward. I love you very, very much, but right now I need to spend a little bit more time on my energy because I'm struggling right now with maintaining my energy, and it's becoming difficult for me. So if you explain this in a loving way, to say why you're setting the boundary and the truth of why you're setting the boundary, not like you're draining me and I can't take it. Just a simple fact of, I need to be doing more self-care right now, taking care of myself. I'm not I'm not where I want to be. I wouldn't say I'm not in the best place, because we don't want to put anything out there in the universe like that, but just say, you know what, I'm working on raising my vibration right now. And so I'm taking more quiet time. I'm meditating more. I'm carving out more time for myself to just do this or to do this or to this, because that's really important for me. I hope you understand. You'll know how to say it with love, but say what's actually happening, that you are carving out more time for your spiritual activities or your meditation or whatever lifts you up. Doesn't matter if that's yoga or walking or playing billiards or I need more Netflix time. It doesn't matter. You're taking what you need for time. So that's going to then limit the time that you have for the friend. You're going to get one of 2 reactions. You're going to get the friend that says, are you okay? Wow, I didn't know that you were struggling. And you're like, no, I'm not struggling. I'm really trying to just kind of take myself, lift myself up a little bit more and really pay more attention to myself, take better care of myself. Those words everyone understands. And so the concerned friend will be concerned. Say, are you okay? And then you can bond at that moment and say yes. And, and when we do talk, please know that I am always 100% there for you. I might not have as much time as I had in the past, but I'm still, I still love you and I'm still behind you. Or the second reaction you're going to get from this friend is pushback. Pushback. What about me? And they're going to push and they're going to push and they're going to push the boundaries. They're going to push the boundaries. This is when you need to really ask yourself a question. Are you waking up every day hoping to be able to give your time to this person and then that fills your needs? Or are you diminished? Are you tired? And are you looking at someone that is providing only a one-way street, just taking, there's no giving? If that's the case, your spiritual contract might be up with them. Do you know what I mean? It might be time to say, I don't think I can be the best one to help you. You can even help them find help. You know, that boundary setting is a little bit uncomfortable and, you know, kind of some uncomfortable conversations. But if you approach it carving out time for yourself, it's in the same category as doing GCP, acknowledging your energetic body and acknowledging your spiritual body and seeing it and taking care of it for your path. It's the same thing. It's taking care of yourself and not letting that energy get drained. If this is a supportive friend that loves you, they will totally understand. They will totally understand, and you can keep encouraging them. If this person isn't supportive and you're not, you know, you're not in that category of importance for them, you're going to get a lot of pushback. And this is where you need to stand up and say, I'm sorry, I really, right now, I need to focus on taking care of myself. It's really important to me. I'm sorry that's not important to you. It's really important to me. And I love you and I want you to get help. And here's 15 different avenues of things that might help. Now, let's get to that last one. This is the manipulative energy vampire. This one is a lot more difficult to process through. Sometimes it's even difficult to see. And this is where I said earlier in the video, I was going to talk about how do you spot this. For this one, what I would suggest is instead of just jumping into, yeah, that's it, that's what's happening to me, I would suggest taking some time to be a neutral observer of that person in your life and a neutral observer of other people in your life. What I want you to be looking for in your observations, okay, and this is sort of what you're going to be doing is kind of closing off that energetic body, closing off that spiritual body, taking what we like to call in the intuitive world, the observer point of view, kind of taking a step back with no judgment, you know, no, this is this, or this is this, or this is this, with a complete observer point of view curiosity, where you watch what they do, you watch what they say. Heck, you can even watch yourself and what you do and what you say. And you watch what your friends do and what they say, what your, you know, colleagues do, what they say, from a completely neutral perspective. Here's your sentence. Well, that's interesting. Well, that's interesting. When you're witnessing from this observational point of view, no judgment, as little emotion as you can in it, you know, don't be committed to the outcome and whatever it is. You're going to see them say something and you're going to start to see it in a little bit more clarity. Now, this is tough to put words to because this is energy, but you're going to being a little bit more detached from the situation when they're saying something or when they're doing something of that pattern, that manipulative pattern. When you pull back, it's going to be different. You're going to see their behavior and hear their words on a different energetic level. Your reaction, if they are indeed a manipulative energy vampire, your reaction is going to be, that's interesting that was said, or I'm finding an untruth in that, or I'm seeing what's behind their statement, or that doesn't match up with reality. So being this observer and stepping back and not making any decisions right away, unless you're not okay and you're not safe, then you make a decision very fast, please, because I want you to be safe. But if you have a manipulative energy vampire in your life, take that step back, get into that space of just, you know, eating popcorn, watching what they do, watching what they say. And then what do you think of that? What do you think of that? Because the pattern is they do and they say and you react. That's what the training is. They do, they say, you react. If they do, they say, and you step back and observe, now your perspective just opened. Now you're seeing a whole lot more energy around their behavior and their words. You might even see the purpose and the pull. And I want you to not dive into anger, not dive into frustration if this is happening. If you pull back and you go, wow, that's not true, or that doesn't equal reality, or, this isn't the case. I mean, I want you to just allow yourself some time to witness the pattern, witness the energy pattern. Your decisions, your steps forward will come naturally. They'll come naturally. When it comes to setting up boundaries, you will now be in a position where you actually want to, because you're not in a reactive, constant state. You're giving yourself enough time to step back energetically, look at the situation as a whole, and then make a decision on what you want. If you're in this situation with this type of an energy vampire, it's been a long time since you've actually wanted something for you. You could say, oh, I have been wanting. I've been wanting not to fight. I've been wanting, for him to be nice to me, or her to be nice to me, or, them to be nice to me. I've been wanting this. I want. You're wanting, in those moments, you're wanting a different level of energy in a reactive state. By stepping back and, and I wouldn't suggest going, hold on a minute, suspected energy vampire, I'm going to step back and observe what you're saying. Stay in the flow. This is what you're doing up in your mind. You're just witnessing. You're witnessing. And then you're able to see that energy a little bit more clearly. That's where the decisions can come in. That's where the boundaries can come in. That's where you can decide what you actually really want. That's where we step back and we start to step out of the energy. There's also an energy in this manipulation. We step back from the energy of something of untruths, that, well, if I'm not with this person, then this, or this happens. When you go into that observer position, you realize this, and this, it isn't going to happen. Sometimes, all right, it might, but, I'll be alone forever. That's not true. My friends will hate me. That's not true. Those types of things. Fear of what you will experience in the future without them. Those things are not true. When you step back out of that reactive state, you will start to get back into the moment. When you get your energetic body back into the moment, you get more clarity. Now, to be safe, because if anyone's in a non-safe situation, sometimes there are consequences that you are scared of. Pay attention to those. Those are the human experiences. There are people that are in such situations that are so volatile that they're afraid for their safety, the safety of some of their families. You absolutely have to approach that in the healthiest manner, with strategy, and hopefully with the support of others. So reach out if that's the case. But if you're not in fear for, danger or anything like that, then take the situation and look at what your fears are. I'm not getting out of this situation with this energy vampire because if I get out of this, then I'm scared that in the future I'll be alone, or and those are very real thoughts that people in this pattern have. And that observer position is going to help you to see clearly that the future hasn't happened yet. Those possibilities aren't set in stone because of a decision you make. That's part of the pattern. That's part of the pattern of the energy vampire. So setting boundaries, again, with this type of energy vampire, the manipulative type, setting boundaries is going to be different for every single person. Start with the outcome you want to see happen, and then work backwards from there. Make the decisions in your mind of how you want to see your life. Unfortunately, most of the time, the outcome of wanting to see you and this person in a healthy, thriving relationship is not possible. So what is it without this relationship? What does your life look like without this? Who's in it? What are you doing? How are you thriving? What are you enjoying? Are you looking up at the clouds? It can be simple. Are you looking up at the clouds and just taking in how beautiful they are? Because when you're in that reactive state with an energy vampire that's manipulative, you're not looking at clouds. You're surviving. You're in survival mode. Because that type of energy vampire, the energy is just, it's being yanked out of you at some point. So observer position, try to stay in a non-judgmental, just taking notes, just mentally taking notes on what's said and what's done, what's real, what's not real, what's true, what's not true. Would I behave like that? Would I do that to another friend? Would a friend do that to me? Like just taking notes for a little while. Give yourself time. Give yourself the time that you need. Moving forward, if it's a safety issue, you take care of that safety issue. You make sure you get support. But know that your future fears of what might happen in the future hasn't happened yet. So create the future that you want. Give yourself that daydream time, that time to just dream about, okay, what would it be like to wake up every morning, be kissed on the forehead, be loved, be cared for, and I could just be who I am. And if I had a tough moment, I could just have that tough moment, or I need a shoulder to cry on, I would have a shoulder to. What does that look like? Paint that picture. Know that it's possible, because there's so many examples out there of it. It absolutely is possible. And then work backwards from there. That's when you'll know what you need to do to set your boundaries to get from where you're at to there. Might be a little bumpy, a little rocky, but your other choice is to stay with the energy vampire. So bumpy, rocky, get rid of that living attachment or stay. You know, it's a really, really tough call, but that observational point of view, getting outside assistance and support, whether that's a group or a therapy or somebody that you can call, this is very important. Taking the time that you need to take to do this, not anyone else's timeline. You making the decision of when the right time is to break this soul contract with this energy vampire that's manipulative. Creating your future in your mind so it can come to fruition for you. And then you'll start to more clearly see the boundary steps that you need to take to get from where you are right now to where you are now determined to be. Okay, so that is, in summary, an energy vampire. And all three of those are helpful to be aware of, because your energy is precious. It is unlimited. But sometimes you need all of it. You need all of it. And we never want to deplete ourselves or allow ourselves to be depleted. Or sometimes it's not allowing yourself to be depleted. Sometimes it happens, and you need to take time to replenish. This is all important because, all the way back to what I said in the beginning, you are loving, you are compassionate, and you have so much to give. And if you need a non-selfish reason to take a stand and to remove an energy vampire from your life, if you need a non-selfish reason, I'm going to give you one right now. When you take care of yourself, when you cut that one person out and stop them from depleting your energy, you now have 1,000 times more loving energy to give to hundreds of other people who need it, who are not energy vampires, who will look you in the eyes and say, thank you, you were there when I needed you. That's who you're here to serve. And the only way to do that, okay, and I say serve just out of service of love, but the way to do that is to keep your energy strong. Keep your glass full. Keep yourself in the best space that you can be in. You hit a low, you good, you climb back up. Do the inner work, do meditation, do the stuff that feeds your soul, because then you'll be overflowing with energy that you can give to people that deserve it and need it. And that's where your heart is. So if you need that reason, I've given you that reason, right? You love helping people, you can help so many more people if that one energy vampire scoots along. Approach all of this with love, as always. Find support to help you through this, because you are one of those individuals who, even if you're in a low, you're going to do the work and you're going to raise your vibration. You're going to focus on lifting yourself up while others help lift you up as well. That's the best way to be in a state of rejuvenation, recuperation, lifting yourself back up to that high, but you'll get there. And when it comes to the energy vampires, I'm telling you, they're a roadblock. Get them out of the way so you can go out there and make a difference in the world. You're awesome. You're compassionate. You're loving. And I love you.